smorgasbord of different activities today, different presentations. Thank you. I see some people snuck in. Welcome. Our scripture today is from Mark chapter 16, verses 1 through 8. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so they might go and anoint Jesus' body. Very early on, the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb, and they asked each other, who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb? But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. And as they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in white robes, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. "Don't be alarmed," he said. "You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him? But go tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you." So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. God bless the reading of God's holy word. So we just had a whole bunch of sermons, right? You guys gave some amazing testimony. And it says they were afraid, so they said nothing. So, I think I should be done.
Not really.
All right, April Fools, let's go. All right. The story of Easter, friends, can feel foolish, right? And it can even feel a bit ghoulish. Three women get up early in the morning to anoint the corpse, and they arrive, and the tomb has already been raided. The stone has been moved away, and when they look in, they see a ghostly man announcing that there's a dead man now walking around. It seems more appropriate for Hitchcock than for Hallmark. And as I see it, this whole tradition of eating our Easter candies on Easter, the cute chicks and devouring chocolate bunny heads, it's also kind of disturbing. And in the age where CGI allows everything to have life, like the gingerbread man to Shrek, I find myself looking forward to the new movie, The Purple Peeps Patrol, with Vladimir Putin as the lead peep. Think of it, every Easter we could bite off his head. The true ending of Mark is disturbing. The Gospel of Mark ends with silence and terror. The other lines of Scripture scholars believe were added as the more reliable manuscripts don't have the rest. You got to feel for the monks who copied Scripture word for word, day after day. They didn't even put in one single OMG. There were some of these monks who, when they were copying down the word, they did not want Mark's last word to them to be, for they were afraid. So they added a resurrection, Jesus' appearance. Made the book feel less disturbing, more complete. But if you want that, you can go to the other Gospels. John has 3 appearances of the risen Jesus. Luke has Jesus walking on the road to Emmaus, and Matthew has the women leaving the empty tomb with fear, but also with joy. They actually go and tell the disciples in that Gospel. My happy ending. Then come back next year and we'll do another Gospel. And then you'll get Disney rather than Scorsese. And I'll admit, I was tempted too. When I first gave the scripture to Monica, it was 1 through 7. I wanted to pretend like verse 8 wasn't there. Verse 7, it has all the great lines for Easter. He is risen. He will meet you in Galilee. Go and tell the disciples. But then, friends, it wouldn't be Mark who's telling the story. Mark chooses not to give his gospel a happy ending. He could have ended with verse 7, but no, he wrote verse 8. The women went out and fled for the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Why? Why end with that? I spent a sick day last week watching Grey's Anatomy. And as it seems to happen at the end of every episode or every season, there is a big explosion at the end. And this is the episode in season 13 where Stephanie sets fire to a rapist, and then he's rolling towards the oxygen tank, and she leaps in the air and tries to put out the flame because there's a 7-year-old child involved. And as she leaps, everything explodes. And what happens in the next episode is just as big a thing to stretch the imagination as is our risen Lord. But that first episode, that last episode of, episode 1 of a part 2 thing, the big boom episodes, it ends with Dr. Grey walking towards the hospital. Then, and she stops and she gates as she sees the hospital in flames. The Gospel of Mark leaves us with a silent and terrifying ending. The women flee from the tomb and they say nothing because they are afraid. Reverend David Lowe's Luther Seminary professor remarks that the Gospel of Mark begins with this: the beginning of the good news about Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of God. And he makes this extraordinary connection, I think, suggesting that the entire Gospel then is just the beginning of the good news. Which means, dear Christians, Mark has ended the Gospel with a cliffhanger and has left you to write the next episodes. So let's get on the same page. Episode 1, Mary Magdalene, Mary, Mother of Jesus, Salome walk towards the tomb of their loved one Jesus. And they have that amazing scene where they're wondering out loud how they're going to roll the stone away. And you're thinking, didn't they think of this beforehand? What's the matter with these ladies? And I give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they want to go and assess the situation at first. And then they were going to get on their phones and they were going to Google levers that lift. Yeah. But lucky for them, they didn't have to worry if they had enough data. When they arrived, the stone was already moved. It was an unexpected good thing. And then they look in, and there a man sits, as if the tomb were his office and he were Jesus' receptionist. And he wears clothes that look like the ones Jesus donned on the day of his transfiguration. They're like light. And he tells them that Jesus has gone before them to Galilee. Go there and you'll meet them, he says. Go there and tell the disciples, he says. Jesus has risen, he says. And sometimes among the pastel colors of Easter, I miss the explosive force of what has just occurred. Their loved one had died. Their loved one is not in the tomb. Their loved one has risen. But what does that mean? I mean, it doesn't happen every day. Will he be real? How real is real? Now, there are whole tomes of writings about what it means for Jesus to be resurrected. And without turning this into a seminary, there is one thing we can be sure of, that women have had a seismic change in their lives. Even though Jesus lives, it's not in a way that we associate with our friends. No longer will he be able to join the ladies for happy hour at Ezekiel's water hole. Mark is honest. He allows there to be time for it not to be okay. He allows room for fear. He even suggests that the women could not fulfill the glowing man's command to tell the disciples, not then, not right away. Because when you've just been hit in the head, you need a little time before you're ready to get up and move again. I know you've had explosive moments of change in your lives. You expected something, you got something else. You lost someone near and dear to you. You lost your job or your mission or your cause. Even the youngest among us has lost something. And you weren't ready to go forward, not right away. No matter what someone told you should do, I don't care how much bling the person wore or how professional they sound, before you can move, you need some time to figure out how to get past the smoke and find a way to breathe again. It's something you love, something you counted on, something you believed in has died. So you need that moment to catch your breath, to see what you can do next. But there is guidance from our Lord. See, when you come out, when you're ready to seek again to create light, the man in the tomb tells us exactly where to go. He says, go back to Galilee, because there you will meet Jesus. Go and find him. Look again at what Jesus did in his life, and then you will understand what Jesus does in his resurrected life. If you choose to believe all you've seen and heard, the miracles, the feedings, the teachings of Jesus, it will then dawn upon you that with Jesus you can cast out demons. Mm-hmm. And with Jesus and the little food, it's all it takes to feed thousands. Mm-hmm. And with Jesus, the storms of your life are stilled. I was like, oh, I'm writing resurrection stories, friends. Probably you've already written a few. I know I have. This church is one of them. Remember, I was more than a year out of ministry when I got this call. I was wondering whether I could ever be useful to Christ Church again. And now I'm in a position where I help lead a church which gives to many people life. Amen. You're amazing people. You don't lay down. You expect to still be involved in the work of God. And together we've written a story of a church revived, and yet we've got more stories to tell, and you've got more stories to tell. You've got your story to write. And remember to always begin with an explosion, something that breaks apart your world. So then remember to take time to breathe, and then invite Jesus to write the story of the resurrection. There we go.